I never imagined that locking my own ranch gate could somehow be considered crime. But last night, when I came home after a long, dusty day and found the entrance to my family's land blocked by a solid concrete barrier, I knew a war had just been declared. Right in the middle of the slab, a laminated sign read, HOA violation 347. A warning shot bold and petty. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly anticipate, was that I'd been preparing for this fight for the past 6 months. 6 months earlier, I had just finished unpacking the last of my parents' old belongings inside the creaky, sun-warmed farmhouse that had been in our family for over 30 years. My name is Mason Mitchell, and after a high-stress, cutthroat career as a corporate attorney in Chicago, I left it all behind. The suits, the courtrooms, the late nights at the firm mall traded for 20 acres of peace and memory nestled in a rolling valley. The ranch was mine now, mine to restore, mine to protect. For a while, everything felt right. I spent my days fixing fences, clearing the trails that wove like roots through the tall grass, and listening to the creek babble along the western edge of the land. I reconnected with something ancient and honest, something the city had nearly erased from me. But the peace didn't last. One day, an envelope arrived. Glossy, official-looking. Inside, a letter from something called the Elmridge Hollow Homeowners Association, demanding $850 in annual fees and listing several appearance violations on my property. I stared at it, stunned. My parents had never mentioned being in an HOA, and I knew for a fact the ranch was zoned agricultural and sat far outside any subdivision limits. 3 days later, while repairing the barn door, a black Mercedes sedan pulled into my gravel driveway. From it stepped a tall, slender woman in her late 50s with silver-streaked hair tied back so tight it looked like it hurt. She wore a sharp navy pantsuit and the kind of expression that said she'd never had mud on her shoes. "Mr. Mitchell," she said with an icy smile, "I'm Charlotte Blackthorne, president of the Elmridge Hollow HOA. I thought we should meet in person." We shook hands. Her grip was firm and short, like a deal being made in a boardroom. She wiped her hand on her coat when she thought I wasn't looking. For the next 20 minutes, she explained how the HOA had modernized under her leadership and expanded to include all adjacent properties to preserve community harmony and elevate property values. She spoke like a politician and a tyrant in the same breath. When she finished, I replied calmly, "MS. Blackthorne, this ranch has never been part of any HOA. There is no binding contract, no consent. My parents own this land outright, and I have no intention of changing that." Her smile faltered. "Mr. Mitchell, perhaps you don't understand. In Elmridge Hollow, we take pride in our standards. You don't want to be the neighbor who ruins it for everyone else." It wasn't even a threat, not really. It was a statement of power delivered like a formality before the knife went in. But I had been an attorney for 2 decades. I'd stared down corporate sharks more ruthless than her. I smiled politely and said, "I understand perfectly." "No." As she left, I spotted another vehicle parked a few hundred feet away. A black SUV, engine still idling. The driver, a thick-set man in sunglasses, watched me through the windshield. I raised a hand in mock greeting. He sped off. That night, I found my father's old property deeds in the safe under the stairs. And there it was, clear as day, a legal covenant explicitly exempting the land from any future HOA jurisdiction unless consented to in writing by the property owner. That was my first piece of armor. Meanwhile, Charlotte Blackthorne was slipping into the back seat of a sleek Range Rover waiting down the road. Its driver, a heavy-set man in a $1,000 blazer, handed her a bottle of sparkling water and smirked. "That Mitchell guy's going to be a problem," she hissed. "Let me worry about him," the man said. His name was Gregory Vaughn, CEO of Vaughn Development Group and vice president of the HOA. "We need that land. The stream access alone makes it non-negotiable. The Blackthorne resort hinges on it." From that point forward, things escalated quickly. I began receiving notices almost daily. Bright orange slips stapled to trees, fences my mailbox. Fines for grass height. For non-conforming fencing. For housing livestock me 3 horses that had lived on the land for years. They even cited my tractor as exposed mechanical equipment visible from the road. The fine stacked up. $100, $300, then $1,000 a day. But I didn't panic. I documented everything. Photographs, timestamps, GPS data. I created a digital archive of their harassment. This wasn't my first legal rodeo. I visited town for supplies one afternoon and met Elena Morales at the local hardware store. Late 30s, sharp brown eyes, owner of Morales Supply and Feed. She greeted me like an old friend. "You must be the guy from the Henderson Ranch. Heard the HOA's got their hooks in you already." Over coffee, she filled me in. "They've pushed out 5 families in the past year alone," she said. "Every time someone refuses, they get hit with code violations, fines, property liens. And somehow, Vaughn Development always ends up buying the land cheap." It was a land grab. Under the disguise of community harmony, they were amassing territory for a luxury resort. I contacted an old colleague, Darius Penn, one of the top property rights attorneys in the Midwest. I sent him everything. Within a week, we had filed cease and desist letters, legal challenges, and document preservation notices. Charlotte and Gregory didn't slow down. A week later, I returned home to find the ranch gate padlocked shut, a steel chain wrapped around the posts, and a sign read, "Private property seized under community authority." I laughed. I cut the chain with bolt cutters, walked calmly inside, and called the sheriff. 2 nights later, my security system caught Gregory Vaughn's goons trespassing at 2 a.m., taking photos and planting something near the tool shed. I alerted the authorities and handed over the footage. No response. So I went bigger. I reached out to a regional investigative journalist named Melissa Tan, known for exposing small-town corruption. I gave her the files, and she started connecting dots. Zoning board bribes, political donations, shell companies. It all pointed back to the HOA board. Then came the concrete. I came home one night to find the entrance to my ranch completely blocked by a concrete slab. On it was spray-painted, "Violation 347. That was it. I didn't touch it. Instead, I let the cameras roll. Called Melissa. Called Darius. Called every resident. Elena introduced me to who had faced similar abuse. We formed a group. We shared stories. We collected evidence. And we set a trap. We leaked word that I was considering selling. That night, under cover of darkness, 3 HOA agents entered my land carrying what appeared to be illegal materials meant to frame me for storing explosives. What they didn't know was that we were watching. From every angle. The next morning, the sheriff, newly elected and clean, arrived with a search warrant for Charlotte's home. She answered the door in a silk robe, smug, until she saw me, and Melissa, and the sheriff. Inside, they found files, bank records, maps, photos, bribe documentation, all tied to the resort development scheme. Charlotte was arrested on the spot. Gregory tried to flee the state, but was stopped at the airport. The judge who had sided with the HOA was forced to recuse himself. A new judge dismissed every single fine and injunction they'd filed against me and ruled the HOA had operated outside of the law, abusing power to pursue private gain. The HOA was dismantled. Elena was elected president of a new neighborhood council focused on community well-being, not control. My ranch stayed mine. The barrier? I had it moved to the town square. Painted it with murals from local kids. Added a plaque. "When power blocks your way, build a path no one can take from you." Zoe, my daughter, changed her college major to property law. She wants to fight HOA corruption full-time. The land is still quiet most days, but now it feels stronger, safer. They thought I was just a man with a fence and a tractor. They were wrong. I was the wrong man to pick a fight with. And now everyone knows it.